But will there be a true bipartisan effort to reform the way Wall Street does business? Democratic Senator Mark Warner, also a member of the Senate Banking Committee, joins us now from Washington. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning, Gretchen.
I guess the fourth time is the charm. 3 times the Republicans stood together along with Ben Nelson, a Democrat, said, nope, 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 not going to do this. Now it's up for debate on the floor. Will it be bipartisan?
I sure hope so. Listen, I spent 20 years in the business world and then 4 years as a governor where I was actually measured by what we got done rather than by partisanship. And, you know, there's nothing inherently kind of Democrat or Republican about trying to put new financial rules of the road in place. You know, I've spent the last year working with my good friend, Republican Senator Bob Corker, to get parts of this bill right. And I sure as hope we can find some common ground and get a centrist bill here that'll set financial rules of the road not for the next year or so, but for the next 25 or 30 years.
So Senator Dodd and Senator Shelby were working behind the scenes. Apparently they agreed on one thing. At least Dodd agreed to take out that bailout fund, and that's what Shelby wanted.
But one thing Gretchen, actually, you know, I listened very closely yesterday, and I think I'm curious kind of your characterization here. One, I heard Dodd and Shelby, and I know you're going to have my good friend Senator Shelby on a little bit later, where they said they didn't reach any agreement on substance, and this idea, remember what this whole idea came about, this idea of having the banks pre-fund an ability to unwind one of these firms actually came from a Republican, Sheila Bair, chairman of the FDIC. And what Senator Corker and I, and we worked on this section, we said there were 2 things we wanted to make sure. One, that taxpayers were never again going to be exposed to picking up the mistakes made by Wall Street. And 2, that if you've got a financial firm in crisis, that you've got some money to keep the lights on so you don't have, in effect, a run on the institution, so that you can unwind the institution and basically wipe out the shareholders, wipe out the management, but you've got to do it in an orderly way. So the question is, does the financial industry pay for that, or do we have taxpayer exposure? There are different ways to cut it, and I'm open to other ideas. But I do think the characterization that some have used, and we've not heard anybody that says, okay, if we get rid of it, how do we put these firms out of business in an orderly manner? And that's what I'm anxious to hear.
Right. All I'm saying is that both the press releases that came out from Dodd and Shelby Camp said that they had agreed on that, but they could not agree on anything else, and that's why it's coming to the floor. So let me ask you this.
Sure.
Some of the disagreement is around this Consumer Protection Agency and the derivatives market. Do you think that the Republicans will have a voice in this since they only have 41 people there?
Absolutely. I've got some questions around the consumer area. How do we make sure that we do enforcement the right way? So particularly with smaller community-based banks, you don't have, you know, a consumer enforcer in on Monday and a safety and soundness prudential enforcer in on Wednesday and giving conflicting advice. I think we need strong consumer protection rules, but you've got to have one voice speaking to particularly the smaller banks.
Right.
I think on the derivatives area, you know, there are areas where clearly these instruments have been abused in some cases, but there are appropriate uses for derivatives to hedge out risks. So how do we do it in a way that if banks abuse these, yes, there are some draconian consequences, but that we don't actually end up washing out the value of derivatives in kind of overzealous.
Well, I think the American people want to see something that Republicans and Democrats can both agree on. Senator Mark Warner, always great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gretchen.